The desert sleeps beneath a sky so vast it feels like an ocean turned upside down. The air is still, so still that the faintest whisper of wind feels like a secret being shared. The sand glows softly under the pale light of the moon, every grain reflecting stories too old for words. And there, rising from the horizon like mountains carved by intention, stand the pyramids, silent, patient, eternal. Their shadows stretch long across the desert floor, merging with the darkness, as if guarding something the night itself dares not touch. For thousands of years, travelers have stood here and felt the same pull, a quiet awe that humbles the heart. The pyramids do not speak, yet their silence feels heavy, purposeful. You can almost sense the weight of time pressing around them, layers of history folded into each block of stone. The desert wind carries echoes from another age, and if you listen closely, you might believe it's trying to tell you something. The stars above shimmer like watching eyes, and the air tastes faintly of dust and memory. Somewhere in the distance, a jackal cries and the sound fades into nothingness, swallowed by the immensity of it all. The night holds its breath, and in that stillness, a thought takes root. What if these monuments were never meant to be tombs? What if they were messages, carved in a language older than writing itself? Imagine the builders, thousands of years ago, standing where you stand now. No cranes, no engines, only human hands guided by something more. A vision, perhaps, or a memory not of this world. Every stone placed with precision beyond chance, aligned with stars that marked the heavens when the earth was still young. The perfection feels almost deliberate, as if the builders were leaving instructions for those who would come long after their civilization was dust. The cool night air moves gently through the sands, whispering between the cracks of ancient stone. Some say it's the breath of the gods, others say it's the earth exhaling after millennia of keeping its secrets. The pyramids gleam faintly under the moon, not lifeless but alive with quiet energy, as though they are still watching, still waiting. You can feel it too, the sense that beneath these stones lies more than history. Something stirs, not in movement but in awareness. The same awareness that guided their creation might still linger, like a pulse buried deep beneath the desert floor. And as you stand there, surrounded by infinite silence, the question returns, gentle but insistent. What if the pyramids were never meant to guard the dead but to awaken the living? The wind picks up slightly, brushing against the stones as though answering. The stars flicker, and for a heartbeat you feel the entire desert listening. In this moment the night becomes timeless, and you, a fleeting witness, stand on the threshold of a mystery that refuses to die. Even in daylight the pyramids seem to defy reason. Their edges cut the horizon with impossible precision, every line straight, every angle perfect, as though the builders measured not with tools, but with the stars themselves. Standing before them, you can't help but wonder, how could something so immense, so flawlessly constructed, rise from a world without machines, without metal cranes, without the knowledge we take for granted today? Each block weighs as much as an elephant, yet they fit together so tightly that not even a blade of grass can slip between them. Modern engineers, with all their technology, still argue about how it was done. Were ramps built miles long? Were pulleys and levers used in ways we no longer understand? Or was there something more, something we've lost? The stones themselves seem to mock explanation. Some are cut from quarries hundreds of miles away, their surfaces polished smooth with techniques no one can replicate. Even the alignment of the pyramids, facing true north with astonishing accuracy, would challenge a surveyor armed with lasers and satellites. How, then, did ancient hands achieve it thousands of years ago? Historians offer theories, yet none fit perfectly. Every answer leads to more questions. Every explanation leaves gaps too wide to ignore. The mystery lingers, persistent and silent like the desert itself. And perhaps that's what keeps us returning, this sense that logic alone cannot hold the truth. Somewhere between the measurable and the unknowable, between stone and starlight, the secret waits. As the sun dips low and the shadows stretch across the sands, the first layer of mystery settles in. the quiet realization that maybe, just maybe, the builders knew something we do not. Somewhere between myth and forgotten history lies the question no one can silence. Who were the engineers capable of such precision? The stones of the Great Pyramid do not simply sit upon one another. They lock together like the teeth of a cosmic machine. Each block bears traces of shaping that suggests something beyond hammer and chisel. Smooth cuts, curved grooves, and surfaces polished with microscopic accuracy, details that whisper of tools we no longer possess. In the ruins of ancient quarries, there are marks that look as though they were carved not by human effort but by something mechanical, perfectly circular drill holes, cuts so clean they seem burned into the rock. The possibility feels absurd, yet the evidence stands firm beneath the desert sun. Could an ancient civilization have harnessed a form of energy we have yet to rediscover? Some believe sound, vibration itself, was their secret tool, capable of lifting, shaping, even softening stone through resonance. There are stories, long dismissed as myth, that speak of the songs of the builders, tones that made stones float and move like feathers. Strange, perhaps, but when you stand within the inner chambers of the pyramid and feel the air hum at precise frequencies, the boundary between science and legend begins to blur. Then there are the magnetic anomalies, compasses that spin near certain walls, faint energy fields that ripple beneath the stone floor. The pyramid is not only geometrically perfect, but electrically active, its materials conducting subtle currents from the earth itself. Could it be that these ancient architects understood the planet as a living generator and built their monuments to work in harmony with it? Every clue feels like a fragment of a larger pattern, a forgotten blueprint of genius. The deeper we study, the more modern we realize their ancient minds may have been. It's as though we are children rediscovering the toys of gods, marveling, yet not fully understanding. The desert wind stirs again, tracing over the stones as if to remind us, what was lost is not gone. It waits, buried beneath time and disbelief, humming quietly, waiting for the day we listen the way the ancients once did. At sunrise, the first light spills over the horizon and strikes the limestone faces of the pyramids with perfect precision. Each edge, each angle, seems to awaken as if responding to the sun itself. This alignment is no accident. It is a code written in light. The Great Pyramid faces true north more precisely than any modern building constructed without digital instruments. Its sides capture the sun's movement throughout the year, marking the solstices and equinoxes like a celestial clock carved into stone. But the wonder deepens when night falls. From above, the three pyramids of Giza mirror the stars of Orion's belt, each positioned with mathematical perfection. The ancient builders were not just stacking stones, they were weaving earth and sky into one seamless design. It's as if they wanted to remind future generations that light and time were once part of the same sacred equation. Some researchers have suggested that these alignments were more than symbolic, that they channeled energy. The pyramid structure, its shape and material, might have interacted with the Earth's magnetic field and the constant flood of solar radiation. The polished limestone casing, now mostly gone, would have reflected sunlight so intensely that the pyramids could be seen from miles away, beacons of radiant power. Perhaps they were not tombs at all, but instruments, devices built to collect, amplify, or harmonize energy from the heavens. When you imagine the golden capstone gleaming under the sun, the idea feels less like fantasy and more like forgotten science. As the desert air shimmers with heat and silence, a single thought lingers. Maybe these ancient architects were not merely honoring the gods of light. Perhaps they were conversing with them. Step inside the pyramid and the world outside dissolves into silence. The air feels thick, almost alive, as though sound itself is suspended in the stillness. Every breath echoes faintly along the walls, soft and endless, like the desert wind trapped within stone. Then, as you move deeper into the chamber, something strange begins to happen. A hum, subtle at first, rising from nowhere and everywhere at once. The walls seem to sing. A single note, low and steady, vibrates through the body more than the ear, Speak a word and it stretches, amplifies, transforming into something harmonic. It is as if the chamber itself is listening, reshaping every sound into resonance. Ancient visitors might have felt this same sensation, the chest vibrating gently, the heartbeat slowing, the mind slipping into calm. Modern researchers have found that these rooms echo at specific frequencies, around 110 Hz, a tone known to quiet the mind and induce trance. Imagine priests or initiates standing here, chanting in unison, their voices merging into that frequency until the entire chamber seemed to breathe with them. The pyramid wasn't only stone, it was an instrument. Even today, those who meditate within its heart describe the same feeling, a profound stillness, a sense of floating beyond thought. Perhaps the ancients understood something we have only begun to rediscover, that sound can open doors no key can touch. The hum fades, but its memory lingers, vibrating somewhere deep inside you. Outside, the desert stretches silent once more, but you carry that resonance with you, a whisper from the stones themselves. It leaves you wondering whether the true power of the pyramid was never meant to be seen or measured, but felt in the quiet music of its eternal breath. Deep beneath the sands, in a forgotten chamber sealed by time, a single stone tablet was found, its surface etched with symbols that shimmer faintly when touched by light. The hieroglyphs tell no simple story of kings or gods, but of warning. The voice carved into the stone speaks as if across centuries, a message from a priest who once guarded secrets the world was not meant to remember. It begins with reverence. We built in harmony with the heavens. But as the words unfold, the tone shifts, gentle awe gives way to caution. Power sleeps within the stone, the tablet reads. It shall serve the wise and consume the proud. Scholars debated whether it was poetry or prophecy, yet the phrasing feels deliberate, the rhythm almost ritualistic. It's as though the author feared what might happen if their creation were ever misunderstood. Legends whisper that this priest belonged to an order known only as the Keepers of Light, sworn to protect the balance between energy and spirit. They believed the pyramids held a living current, something that could heal or destroy depending on the heart of the one who awakened it. Imagine him, standing in torchlight thousands of years ago, pressing these words into stone with trembling hands. Around him, the vast halls hummed softly, as if listening. Perhaps he already sensed what time would bring, that curiosity would one day outlive wisdom. The inscription ends with a plea. Disturb not the sleep of the stone, for in its awakening lies the trial of men. The tablet is silent now, locked behind glass, yet its warning feels alive, echoing through history like a breath held too long. And as you think of it, the pyramids themselves seem to watch, waiting, as if remembering exactly what he meant. When night descends over Giza, the desert transforms into a mirror of the heavens. The stars emerge slowly, scattered across the blackness, and then, just above the horizon, three familiar points of light take form. Orion's belt, perfectly aligned, perfectly spaced. And below, on the desert floor, three pyramids rise in the same formation, each matching the stars above with uncanny precision. It is as if Earth itself were answering the sky. Ancient builders could not have seen this from the ground alone. To design such alignment required knowledge of the cosmos, geometry, astronomy, and vision beyond the scope of any simple civilization. The ancients said their gods descended from the stars, bringing wisdom to awaken humanity. Could this layout be their signature, a celestial blueprint left behind to remind us of our origins? The Great Pyramid stands where the brightest star, Alnitak, would shine. The other two follow its pattern, tilted just as Orion's belt tilts across the night. Even the Nile mirrors the Milky Way, winding like a river of stars through the desert's heart. None of it feels random. Every angle, every placement seems intentional, as if a conversation were being held between heaven and earth. What if these monuments were never meant to be seen merely from the ground, but from above, from the very skis their builders may have known so well? Perhaps they are messages not written in language, but geometry, a silent greeting to whatever intelligence first inspired them. The wind moves softly over the plateau and the stars shimmer in reply. In that moment, it's hard not to feel small, suspended between sand and infinity, wondering whether the pyramids were meant for us at all, or for the gods who once walked among them. For centuries, the Great Pyramid was thought to have revealed all its secrets. Every passage, every hidden shaft had been measured and mapped. Yet, beneath the weight of ages, the stones still held their silence, until now. In recent years, scientists using advanced scanning technology detected something unexpected, a void, large and untouched, deep within the heart of the pyramid. It wasn't a narrow tunnel or an air shaft, but a vast, hollow space where no one had ever stepped. The discovery sent a ripple of excitement through the archaeological world, and a chill through those who sensed the deeper meaning. What could lie inside a chamber sealed for over 4,000 years? No entrances are visible, no inscriptions mark its presence. It exists only as a ghostly outline within the stone, an echo of emptiness that refuses explanation. The research teams speak carefully, avoiding speculation, but one truth remains. Something waits inside the pyramid, untouched since the dawn of civilization. And as night falls over Giza, that unseen space seems to hum with possibility, as though the ancient monument is holding its breath, waiting for the moment when someone finally dares to open its heart. Late one evening, as instruments hummed quietly against the desert air, researchers detected something they could not explain. Beneath the Great Pyramid, faint electromagnetic waves pulsed in slow, steady rhythm, too regular to be random, too soft to be dismissed as interference. It was as if the monument itself had a heartbeat. The readings repeated, rising and falling in gentle cycles, echoing the same frequencies found in natural resonance deep within the earth. Some scientists called it coincidence. Others fell silent, unsure how a structure of stone could respond like a living system. The energy seemed to flow through the limestone and granite, guided by the pyramid's geometry, amplifying and releasing in patterns too elegant to ignore. Standing above the sands, one could almost feel it, a subtle vibration beneath the feet, like the earth exhaling through ancient lungs. The air tingled, the silence deepened, and a thought whispered unbidden. Perhaps the pyramid was never dead stone, but a living conduit, attuned to the rhythms of the planet itself. In that moment, science brushed against something older than reason, a quiet, invisible pulse reminding us that even in stillness, the ancient monument still breathes. The night over Giza feels endless. The wind has stilled, the stars have sharpened, and the desert glows faintly beneath the moon like a sea of pale gold. The pyramids stand motionless, vast and eternal, their silhouettes slicing the horizon into geometry and shadow. They have watched thousands of nights like this, wars and peace, birth and ruin, the rise and fall of every empire since their making. And yet, through all that time, they have kept their secret. People once believed they were tombs, grand resting places for kings who sought immortality. But no mummies were ever found within their main chambers, no royal treasures gleamed beneath the dust. The deeper we search, the less they resemble graves and the more they appear as something else entirely, machines of purpose, temples of energy, monuments not to death, but to life itself. Inside those vast stone corridors, silence takes on a weight of its own. It presses gently against the heart, as if reminding you that even silence can speak. You begin to sense that the builders may have understood something about existence that we no longer do, something about vibration, harmony, and the delicate bridge between the physical and the unseen. Perhaps the pyramid was not designed to hold a body, but to guide a soul. Legends whisper that initiates entered the Great Pyramid not to die, but to awaken. They would lie within its inner chamber, surrounded by humming stone, and feel their consciousness drift beyond the body, touching something infinite. When they emerged, they were said to be changed, no longer bound by fear or illusion. Was this the true purpose of the structure? A doorway to understanding the self. The more one contemplates, the more the question expands. Were these structures built by mortal hands striving for divine connection, or by a civilization already attuned to forces beyond comprehension? Each theory seems both impossible and somehow incomplete, like fragments of a forgotten dream. And yet standing beneath them you feel it, that subtle vibration beneath the sand, the air thick with unseen memory. It doesn't feel like a monument to death. It feels alive, patient, watching, waiting. Maybe that's why the pyramids still call to us across time. Not because they are relics of what once was, but because they are reminders of what still could be. A mirror held up to our own potential, asking us to remember what we've forgotten. So the question lingers in the still desert air, soft yet insistent, echoing across the millennia. Were the pyramids built to store the dead or to awaken the living? And as that question fades into the hum of the night, the stars seem to flicker in quiet agreement, inviting you to listen, to wonder, and to keep searching for the answer that still sleeps beneath the stone. Under the glare of modern certainty, the story of the pyramids seems complete. We are told they were built by thousands of laborers under royal command, a triumph of human will and primitive ingenuity. But when you stand before them, when you feel their symmetry press against the horizon, that version of history begins to tremble. The stones do not speak of trial and error. They speak of mastery. Archaeologists point to crude tools, copper chisels, and sheer manpower. Yet no experiment, no reconstruction, has ever truly matched the precision found in those ancient blocks. The seams are too fine, the alignments too perfect, the mathematics too elegant. It feels less like the work of trial and labor, and more like execution of knowledge already perfected. If these were built with simple tools, why does the craftsmanship defy replication even today? Could the timeline we've been given be missing something? An entire chapter of civilization erased by sand and time. Perhaps those workers were not mere laborers but inheritors of an older science, preserving skills they no longer fully understood. History insists the pyramids mark a beginning, but what if they are instead the last echo of an age that ended long before our recorded past began? A final whisper from forgotten hands that once shaped the world with precision beyond our comprehension. They were called the sages of the sand, keepers of wisdom, guardians of the unseen. Their names are lost, but their presence lingers in every line of stone. Ancient texts speak of priest-scientists who walked between worlds, their knowledge flowing from stars to earth like rivers of light. They were not rulers, nor builders in the ordinary sense, but mediators between divine order and human hands. Legends tell of men who could read the language of vibration, who spoke in tones that resonated with the fabric of the universe itself. They believed everything, stone, air, flesh, thought, was alive with frequency, and that harmony was the bridge between matter and spirit. In their temples, they mapped the heavens with sacred geometry, translating cosmic motion into physical form. The pyramids, they taught, were not monuments but instruments, designed to tune the earth to celestial rhythm. Some say these sages came from the West, fleeing the fall of a drowned land, carrying fragments of knowledge too precious to die. Others claim they emerged from within Egypt itself, born of desert silence and divine communion. Whichever is true, they understood something we have long forgotten. That building was a sacred act, an imitation of creation itself. At night, when the desert cools and the wind sings low, one can almost feel their presence, a quiet intelligence, patient and unhurried, as though still guiding the stones through time. Perhaps their legacy was never lost at all, only hidden, waiting for those who learn to listen rather than look. And so the mystery deepens. Who were these beings who shaped with wisdom instead of force, who left behind monuments that hum with eternity? Maybe the answer lies not in the stones, but in the silence that surrounds them. The ancients looked up at the sky and saw order, not chaos. The stars were not distant lights, they were coordinates, guiding forces in the great design of existence. And among all the constellations, none held more meaning than Orion. The builders of the pyramids seemed to know this. For the great monuments of Giza do not stand randomly upon the sand. They follow the pattern of the heavens with astonishing precision, reflecting Orion's belt upon the earth itself. Each pyramid mirrors a star, Alnitak, Alnilam, Mintaka. The smallest stands slightly offset, just as one of Orion's stars breaks the perfect line above. This was no accident. It is a dialogue written across dimensions, a blueprint linking the mortal and the divine. The Great Pyramid itself aligns to true north with an accuracy that humbles modern surveyors. Its shafts point directly toward the stars of Orion and Sirius, as if built to channel light from the cosmos into the chambers below. Why such obsession with alignment? Perhaps the builders believed that by harmonizing Earth's structure with the heavens, they could draw down cosmic energy, a resonance between the planet and the stars. The very geometry of the pyramid reflects celestial proportions, encoded with ratios found in planetary motion and orbital cycles. These numbers are not random. They are the language of the universe, carved in stone. Standing at Giza on a clear night, it feels as though time folds inward. The stars shimmer exactly where they did thousands of years ago, and the pyramids gleam faintly in their reflection. You begin to understand. This was not construction. It was communion. A message written in geometry and light, whispering across the ages, reminding us that Earth itself was once part of a grander conversation, one we are only beginning to hear again. Long before Egypt rose from the sands, the philosopher Plato spoke of a lost civilization, Atlantis, a radiant empire of wisdom and power that, he claimed, vanished beneath the sea in a single day and night. For centuries, his tale was dismissed as allegory, a moral warning against pride. Yet when one stands before the pyramids, that story begins to feel less like myth and more like memory. The precision, the mathematics, the cosmic alignment, these were not the marks of a civilization just learning to build. They suggest inheritance, a continuation of knowledge carried from somewhere older, somewhere greater. Some believe the survivors of Atlantis fled to safer lands, bringing with them fragments of forgotten science. If true, Egypt may have been one of their sanctuaries, a place where wisdom could be reborn in stone. Ancient texts tell of the Zep Tepi, the first time, when gods walked among men and taught the arts of building, healing, and light. Perhaps these gods were not divine in the mystical sense, but remnants of that vanished age, Atlantean sages cloaked in myth, passing on what little remained of their world. And maybe the pyramids are more than tombs or temples. Maybe they are monuments to remembrance, beacons built by refugees of time, preserving their lost harmony within geometry and light. Each block, each angle, might carry whispers of a civilization erased by water yet reborn in desert stone. When the wind moves over Giza at dusk, it sounds almost like the sea, gentle, endless, and full of memory. Perhaps it is not the Nile that speaks to the pyramids, but the ocean that once claimed their teachers. If Atlantis truly fell, its voice did not drown. It echoes here, in the eternal silence of the sand. There are clues in the sands that whisper of a time before Egypt, before the pharaohs, before writing, before even recorded memory. The hieroglyphs themselves speak of it in fragments, calling it Zep Tepi, the first time. It was an era when gods or beings of light walked among men, when the world was young and knowledge flowed freely between heaven and earth. Archaeologists call these stories myth, yet the stones tell another tale. At sites scattered across Egypt, at Abydos, Saqqara, and beneath the Giza Plateau, traces of engineering appear older than the dynasties attributed to them. Some carvings are weathered far beyond their supposed age, worn by rains that last fell thousands of years before Egypt's deserts were born. The Sphinx, too, bears scars that speak not of wind, but of ancient floods, as if it once gazed upon a greener world. Could the builders have inherited a blueprint from a civilization long vanished, one that rose and fell before history began? If so, the pyramids are not the dawn of technology, they are the twilight of something far greater. Perhaps humanity is not climbing toward enlightenment, but slowly reawakening to what was once known. The builders before time may not have left behind words, but they left form, proportion, vibration, a map for rediscovery. Each measurement within the Great Pyramid echoes cosmic constants: the ratio of Earth's size to its distance from the Sun, the length of the year, even the curvature of the planet itself. Too precise, too intentional to be coincidence. And so we are left with a question buried deeper than the stones themselves. How could those labeled primitive, no truths about the universe we only rediscovered millennia later? Maybe the answer lies not in the future, but in the distant memory of a forgotten past. There are stories, half-whispered through history, that the builders of the pyramids were not entirely of this world. Not gods, not spirits, but visitors, beings of flesh and mind who came from the stars. The idea feels impossible, yet it lingers, refusing to fade. Even the oldest Egyptian texts speak of the Neteru, those who descended from the heavens and brought light to humankind. They taught language, architecture, and the measurement of the stars. And when their work was done, they returned to the sky. Across cultures from Sumer to the Andes, similar tales echo, gods descending in fire, imparting knowledge and vanishing. Could these myths be memories, distorted by time but rooted in truth? The alignment of the pyramids with Orion and Sirius, the precision of their construction, and their resonance with the Earth's energy fields, all suggest an understanding of science that seems beyond the reach of early humans. Some researchers propose that these visitors were not conquerors but teachers. They did not rule, they revealed. The pyramids, then, were not temples to worship them, but markers of contact, cosmic signposts to remind future generations of the bridge once built between heaven and earth. Imagine the scene. A night like this, the desert glowing beneath 1,000 stars. A great fire descends from the sky, light so bright it silences the world. The people watch in awe as beings step forth, radiant and calm, their gestures precise, their purpose clear. They do not speak, yet knowledge passes like a wave. When the light fades, the sky empties again, but humanity is forever changed. Whether gods, travelers, or something we have no name for, their legacy endures. And perhaps, somewhere among the stars they once came from, they still watch, waiting for us to look up and remember. Under the burning sun, the pyramids seem eternal, yet the desert around them hides traces of something once alive with power. Machines and tools long since turned to dust. Fragments of copper fused with quartz, residues of unknown alloys, and surfaces smoothed as if by heat far beyond any ancient fire. The ancients spoke of the metal that sang and fire that moved stone. Could these be memories of forgotten technologies, forces that bridged science and magic before both had names? Legends describe workshops of the gods, vast halls where fire met stone and sound shaped matter. Some carvings even depict what appear to be tools, rods emitting light, objects that hum with energy. Dismissed as symbols by modern eyes, yet their patterns are deliberate, their precision unsettling. What if they were not metaphor but record? Imagine a world where stone yielded like clay to vibration, where metal carried the pulse of the earth itself. Perhaps the pyramids were not built by brute strength but by resonance, sound, heat, and magnetism guided by minds attuned to natural law in its purest form. The hum of creation itself, captured and directed. Today, scientists study how sound can lift small objects, how frequency can alter structure. We are rediscovering what the ancients may have already mastered. Standing before the Great Pyramid, you can almost feel it, a faint electric tremor beneath your skin, like the afterglow of something once immense. If these echoes are real, then the story of civilization is not one of steady progress, but of loss. The ancients may not have been primitive dreamers gazing at stars. They may have been engineers of light and sound, wielding tools that turned matter into melody. And perhaps in their wisdom, they let that knowledge sleep until we are ready to hear it again. Beneath the ever-watchful gaze of the great Sphinx lies a secret that has haunted explorers and mystics for centuries. Its body, carved from a single ridge of limestone, aligns perfectly with the rising sun at the spring equinox. As dawn breaks, light touches its face first, an ancient greeting between earth and sky. But some believe this alignment hides more than beauty. They say it guards a doorway. Geological surveys have revealed cavities beneath the Sphinx's paws, unnatural hollows, as though something lies buried below. Legends call it the Hall of Records, a chamber said to hold the wisdom of a lost civilization, sealed until humanity is ready to understand. The ancients spoke of the Sphinx as the Watcher of Ages, a guardian that sees both past and future. Its eyes, eroded yet unblinking, seem to look not at the horizon but beyond it. If the pyramids were built to connect heaven and earth, perhaps the Sphinx was their sentinel, a silent observer ensuring the knowledge within remained untouched. Each sunrise seems to renew its vow, bathing it in gold, as if reminding the world that truth is always buried in light. And still the desert keeps its secret. Ancient myths tell of a sacred covenant, an agreement between those who built and those who would inherit. It was said that the knowledge of creation, of energy, of harmony between heaven and earth could not be lost entirely. Instead, it would be hidden, scattered like seeds, waiting for the right time to bloom again. The builders called this covenant the promise of the stone. Each monument, each temple held a fragment of truth, encoded not in words but in vibration, proportion, and light. Those who could read it would awaken to understanding, not just of how the pyramids were built, but why. It was a pact of guardianship, ensuring that the wisdom of the ancients would not be used for power, but for balance. Perhaps this is why the same geometry appears in temples across continents, from Egypt to Mesoamerica, why the same myths echo in tongues that never met. The covenant was not a legend, it was a blueprint of remembrance. Even now, when we stand before these monuments and feel that strange familiarity, we are answering that ancient agreement. The builders kept their promise. The knowledge still lives, waiting in the silence, waiting in the stone. Night returns to the plateau, soft and infinite. The desert exhales its heat, and the pyramids sink once more into stillness. Yet something about their silence feels alive, as if memory itself hums within the stone. Perhaps these monuments are not simply relics of an ancient world, but living archives, memory banks of humanity, storing fragments of what we once were and what we may become again. Inside the Great Pyramid, every chamber resonates at precise frequencies, each one capable of affecting the human mind in subtle ways. Could this resonance have been intentional, a way to record emotion, thought, or energy into the very matter of the structure? In our time, we store knowledge in circuits and code. But what if the ancients used vibration, embedding memory within stone? Each tone, each geometric angle might hold a pattern, an echo of the builder's consciousness still vibrating after millennia. The more we study, the more the pyramid behaves like a machine of remembrance, not a tomb. Its measurements encode the Earth's size, its proportions mirror celestial cycles, and its core hums faintly with energy. All of it seems to say, "We knew you would come back searching." And perhaps that is the true purpose of these monuments, to awaken curiosity, to remind us that wisdom is never lost, only sleeping beneath time's dust. The pyramids do not speak in language or symbol. They speak in feeling, in intuition, in the quiet certainty that the past is not gone. It is alive, waiting to be heard. So when you gaze upon their endless geometry, know this: you are not merely looking at history. You are standing before a mirror, reflecting the deepest memory of humankind, a reminder that what was built to endure was also built to remember.